A woman let her dog shiz on the airport floor. So I shiz on her plans. While walking to my gate at LAX, I noticed a woman whose dog was in the middle of doing its business. The woman was loudly FaceTiming with her back to the dog. So I assumed she didn't notice. That was likely the thought shared by the gentleman who tried to get her attention. "Excuse me, miss," he said, in a polite tone. The woman glared at him. "Your dog," he sheepishly continued, pointing to the mid-poop pup. The woman rolled her eyes and went back to FaceTime as the man slinked away. Seemingly embarrassed. "Some people," she bellowed to her FaceTime companion with no hint of irony, "are just so damned rude." When her dog finished, the woman started walking away, leaving everything right on the airport floor. Another woman tried to stop her. "You're not going to clean that up?" she asked. As shocked as the rest of us were. "They have people for that," the offender replied, disappearing into the crowd, as much as someone yelling into their phone can disappear into a crowd. I stood near the pile and warned people to walk around it while someone else got a maintenance worker's attention. No one said anything. We were so shocked that anyone could be that horrible. When I got to my gate, the woman was there, too. Great, we were both going to Tokyo. When I travel abroad, I get embarrassed by other Americans doing things 100 times less embarrassing than leaving animal feces on the floor of an airport. To make it worse, her dog was now barking at everyone who walked by. I have nothing against people flying with their dogs. I do it often. But it is a privilege I take seriously. My dog is well trained and behaves better than most people. He certainly behaves better than that asshole. Speaking of assholes, there is a pet relief area inside LAX. Past security. Just 2 gates away from where the party pooper let her dog go to town. It didn't matter, she was the type of person to litter 3 feet from an empty garbage can. While her dog barked at the world, the woman had moved from FaceTiming with no headphones to listening to music with no headphones. I don't like to throw around the word sociopath, but I don't know how else I could explain just how selfish and terrible of a person she was. I'd bet her car was somewhere in long-term parking. Parked across 3 spots with paint on the bumper from the child's bike she hit without leaving a note. Everyone else tried to ignore her, sitting as far away from her as they could. I am not everyone else. I sat down right next to the horrible woman. "Are you going to London on business?" I said. "I'm going to Tokyo," she responded gruffly, annoyed that I interrupted her DJing. "Oh," I said. "Then you better hurry. That flight got moved to gate 53C. This is the flight to London." I figured I could give her a little moment of panic as payback for how terribly she was treating everyone. I didn't predict what would happen next. She grabbed her bags and her dog in a huff, and stormed out of the gate without even checking. She was so self-involved. She didn't notice that the monitor at our gate still said Tokyo and almost everyone at the gate was Japanese. Based on her actions, she believed me that the fight had been moved. So she's also an asshole for not thanking me. Some people, quote, I thought as I watched her rush away from the gate without stopping her, are just so damned rude. The flight to Tokyo was at gate 69A. So the 53 gates were on the other side of the next terminal. And I felt guilty knowing she probably berated some poor clerk who had to explain to her that there was no gate 53C. I don't know if she made it back to this flight before we took off or not. But I didn't see her board and I don't hear her dog. Her missing her flight was not my original intention. But it would be a fine punishment for her being so rude to everyone and making a low-paid stranger clean feces off the floor. What makes me wonder if I went too far is the knowledge that Delta only has one flight to Tokyo each day. Whoops. Maybe she can rebook on another airline. I hear they have people for that. Edit. For those of you who want to play internet detective and demanded to see my ticket as if that even proves anything. I'm a stand-up comedian with a show in LA last night and a show in Tokyo tonight. But if that's not enough for you, here's my ticket. And yes, Delta does allow dogs on flights to Japan. Edit 2, rip inbox in a ridiculous 1,000 message way. Thanks to all the nice folks. Especially the people who are coming to shows, etc. I'm trying to get to all your comments. But it may take me a few days. For those who are being dicks, I hope you wheel your suitcase into her dog shiz. Lost it here. Hee, that was my favorite part. 2. It's totally true though. In her reality at that moment, I was a helpful stranger who saved her from missing her flight. And she had the gall not to thank me. Fucking savage, holy shiz. Especially that last line. DAMNN. I mean, how is that gonna go over with the person she's trying to rebook with? I don't know how it works, but I'd imagine she doesn't have a good reason to not have to pay for a new ticket, right? Rude ass lady is gonna tell them some guy told me it was at gate 53C. And they are gonna be like, that's not even a gate number. Why didn't you ask an employee? You didn't even check with anyone or look at the signs? Like I said, IDK how that works, but it sounds like a lame excuse on her part. Also, you can bet she's not going to treat the airline employees any better than she treated everyone else, and they probably won't be wanting to go too far to help her out. Good stuff. The only downside is she's probably gonna post on social media about how the world is against her and how terrible airline employees are for refusing to help her. Yeah. But then someone can screenshot it and post it here. Then she can become aware of this post and how shiz of a person she was being. It's a win-fucking-win, baby. I might just owe you a beer or 3 for that. Yeah. But not a $12 airport beer. I just feel sorry for the poor people stuck with her after she missed it. But good, although accidental revenge. Imagine how livid she must be. Fun. Deleted. I hate to toot the R that happened horn. But I believe pets have to remain on quarantine for a long time before a flight for disease control. I believe the same protocols happen for fragile agricultural states as well. I know Hawaii has a similar rule. I thought this said you shiz on her pants at first. I gotta say I'm kinda bummed now, my dude. I was expecting possibly the best story of all time. This is a fantastic runner-up though. Props. I thought this said that they shiz on her plants. What was your plan if she didn't run away immediately? Like, what if she had just noticed the monitor still said Tokyo and said WTF? It seems like you were expecting something more like that. I assumed she'd have a moment of panic. Run over to the desk clerk and check. And come back angry at me. I'd have just said, oh, my mistake, and pray that her seat wasn't near mine on the plane. You might not be a sociopath, but you're pure evil. I love it. Ahem. Lawful evil. I was really on board with this until I remembered that Japan has incredibly strict rules on bringing dogs into the country. That can be at least a 5-month process. So either this is art that happened, or you really got ProRevenge on her over, because she would have to redo a lot of paperwork. When you're like 5 lines in and the subject is dusting off, some people are so rude, in response to being alerted that their dog is openly shitting on an airport carpet. You can feel pretty assured you've wandered onto the set of a Disney sitcom and firmly into art that happened. This sounds like fairy tale bullshit. Too many discrepancies in your story to validate it. For one, the plane wouldn't have left the airport with her luggage on the plane. Because of past terrorist attacks. You can argue that maybe she didn't check her luggage. But who flies to Tokyo from LAX with just a bag and a dog? Also, she's already past the security checkpoint. So it would be way easier for them to escort her back to the gate instead of going through checked luggage. I probably would have believed you more if you ended it with "then I punched a grizzly bear in the nose." Stopping the escalation of World War III. Then everybody on the plane had ice cream because of my efforts. For once. It was a good day on Malayan Airlines. Don't forget the part about bringing a dog on an international flight to Tokyo. When Japan has some of the strictest rules against bringing animals into their isolated island country. I hope they confirm she was not told by an employee and she did not double check and they refused to comp her anything. Seems like the flat tire rule would probably come into play, seeming as she's in the airport and probably wouldn't miss the flight by much. Deleted. I was seeing BB's Lydia. R. That happened. Seriously. This reads like a professional piece of fiction. I feel like half of the shiz in this sub is super embellished and the rest is completely fabricated. It's like the proving grounds for aspiring news journalists. That happened. Oh. You mean the story where both sentences the wrongdoer said ended up being used as callbacks by the protagonist isn't real? How the frick are people upvoting this? It's obviously completely fake. And it's shizzy. Shizzy writing. One fucking page and they used 2 Chekhov's guns. Absolutely pathetic. I work at LAX. And your story has done the rounds. You got some laughs. But it's gone to corporate where they have less sense of humor and the rumor is you'll be answering some interesting questions when you return. FYI. 1. An animal fouling in the airport is a reportable incident due to the requirement for a supervisor to check the area for purposes of hygiene. From what I hear, there was no such incident reported. Either you're telling the truth, or a cleaner is going to get her ass canned. 2. There is no record of anyone being provided transport from any gate to the HND gate at the time you claim. Which is what would have occurred if a distraught passenger with a dog had discovered she was at the wrong gate. She would have made the flight. 3. Finally, Japan has very strict requirements for allowing dogs into the country, including a 180-day wait resulting from rabies vaccinations. This is not my area. But, well, there is so much paperwork and inspections required at both ends, that simply walking with your defecating dog onto the plane is rather improbable. Don't you agree? Here's a site you can check. I'm not saying it wasn't funny. But there's fallout from this kind of stuff. Man, just a heads up. It happened just outside the Delta Sky Club and it was reported to a Sky Club employee. Feel free to ask them if anyone had to clean up dog shiz. Answering questions upon my return? For what? Telling someone her flight was at the wrong gate? Yes. Have me arrested and charged with lying to a fellow passenger.